This is the Head Rush Podcast with Paul Frase and Corey Berry.
Welcome to the Head Rush Podcast. I'm Paul Frase, and I played 11 years in the NFL, and our co-host, Corey Berry, rode professional rodeo for 9 years. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's a little hot here in Texas. I don't know about Florida, but we're at 101.
Oh, it was toasty. Yeah, it's been very hot down here, and I've had to spend the last few days out in the heat. All right. At the Head Rush Podcast, we talk about everything related to brain trauma and brain health and wellness. We focus on traumatic brain injury sustained through repeated head impacts, RHI, and repeated blast exposure, RBE, for our men and women who serve in the armed forces. We talk about traumatic encephalopathy syndrome and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, and we cover how traumatic brain injuries can and will cause mental health issues, brain health issues, such as depression, addiction, lack of executive function, memory loss, and even suicide ideation, as well as degenerative neurological issues. And our mantra is how to cope and find hope. And we focus our energy on finding therapies and sharing hope through education and by raising awareness. Please like, subscribe, share. And I know I'm missing a couple things. Corey.
Follow, comment, review, do whatever you can to help us push the narrative of repeated head impacts is not good for the brain.
Absolutely. I love that.
So, Paul, I think on today's episode, I want to talk about, let's get in the weeds a little bit. Let's talk about dementia, all the neurodegenerative diseases that are associated with repeated head impacts. Now, we know that CTE is a tauopathy. It's associated with the sport of football, but I also want to make sure that we discuss other sports and occupations that involve RHI and RBE. I mean, let's talk about boxing, hockey, rugby, soccer, rodeo, military blast exposure, and other activities involving repeated head trauma cases. Cases of CTE after autopsy include every one of these activities. Every one has been documented to have a CTE case.
But the domestic violence as well. Did you mention that as well?
No, I don't think I did. Engaging in all of these sports and occupations, as well as domestic abuse. What was it? The 1920s punch drunk? Is that when the first thing came out?
Yeah. Well, I believe it was the late 20s or the 30s. But what did they call it? Punch drunk, pugilism. That was the term that they named it way back then. And the DOD actually had some information about repeated head impacts or repeated blast exposures in like as early as the 1940s. So we've known a long time that
millions live with depression, anxiety, fatigue, or emotional chaos, believing it's permanent. It's not. The Millennium Protocol targets hidden inflammation and hormone disruption caused by trauma, stress, and time. Created by Dr. Mark Gordon, featured multiple times on Joe Rogan and the Head Rush podcast, plus the documentary movie Quiet Explosions, this approach has transformed lives once written off as hopeless. Visit tbihelpnow.org and take the 10-question brain health assessment. Healing is possible. Your story isn't over. Let's begin again with your brain.
That the repeated head impacts and repeated blast exposures are not good for our brain health. And I know we normally talk about CTE, but and we know, I think we know a lot about CTE simply because it's football related, and this I don't know, is America's favorite pastime sport still
Rodeo?
baseball, or is it
Rodeo?
rodeo? Well, the America's most American sport is rodeo. I would say that, but no, you could make an argument. I'm not going to stop you. That's for sure. Anyway, so we always associate the CTE with the football, and the NFL. Oh, well, and let's back up. What is the age of the youngest uh, kid diagnosed with CTE, Corey?
Well, Dr. Julia Manning, is it, came on our podcast,
Koffler.
or
Yeah,
Koffler.
Yeah.
Julia Koffler came on and told us that the youngest she had is 15.
Yeah.
So, and I know for a fact that several rodeo cowboys have been diagnosed with CTE, and some of them very high ranking, but in our community, they don't want to spread the word. They don't want to talk the truth, kind of like football. They don't want to spread the word. They don't want to talk the truth. And probably like rugby and soccer and all the other sports and probably military, but in all of these, I mean, we got to get beyond this and get to talking about CTE. You got to die. I'm not ready to die.
Right, to get diagnosed definitively.
Right. I don't want to die to get my diagnosis, but all the other degenerative diseases that come into play is an important key factor that I think a lot of people are missing. That you bang your head, you can get, what are they? Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS. I mean,
yeah,
talk about it.
Well, you're talking about, so they just came out with the study that ALS is actually 4 times more prevalent in football players, NFL players, than the general public, and that was big news because Chris Johnson, the running back, he was just diagnosed, or he just came out publicly about his diagnosis of ALS recently, and it's a fact. It's a fact that if you play football, you're 4 times more likely to come down with ALS. Now, do you think the rodeo, the even race car driving, rugby, gymnastics, whatever you can bump your head, repeated head impacts,
thousands of times.
thousands, right?
Now let's cut that, because I want people to realize we're just not beating on sports. It takes thousands and thousands of repeated head impacts to really dig deep and cause these. One TBI can screw you up for life.
Well, that's true.
One concussion can give you a post-concussion syndrome.
And you can deal with that for years.
Right, but repeated head impacts, it's not going to happen in one season. I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't think one season of repeated head impacts or playing football for 16 games is going to give you CTE. I think it takes thousands.
Thousands of hits, yeah. Thousands of repeated head impacts. And they do, I mean, there is good science out that actually says, I believe it says, and this is medically reviewed, peer-reviewed medical journals, that the more the more you play concussive sports, and again, I'm talking about football because this is what the study was done on, but we can relate it to every one of these sports, or every domestic violence, or every activity that is dangerous and includes repeated head impacts. But it's
Jet
a fact
skis.
that yeah, jet skis. We also talked about the military, the Navy guys that drive
SWIC operators.
the SWIC operators. You know, they said, we saw at the Mac Parkman Foundation event last year, or just this past summer, this past spring, that the SWIC operator had one of the worst cases of CTE that they had ever seen. So we want to just, we want to focus on the fact that repeated head impacts and exposure, repeated blast exposure, it's proven to increase your the probability of coming down with, like, the big three: the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, the ALS.
Yeah,
And
so let's
the
let's break down the big three and put it.
yeah,
Alzheimer's disease. A repeated head trauma appears to increase the risk of dementia later in life. However, Alzheimer's and CTE are different diseases, and some people have both. But let's break them down. I mean, I know a radiologist, or not a doctor that reads the radiology, whatever you call that, a radiologist, ain't it?
right, yep.
That has Alzheimer's. Never played football, never played a contact sport, but there was Alzheimer's in his family.
Right.
We're talking people like what Brett Favre discussed, that Parkinson's, and no Parkinson's ever in his family, no history of it. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Brett got it.
Right.
And he said it comes by what? Two ways: food or repeated head impacts.
Right.
And
spontaneously, without a history, or genetics, or a history in the family. Right. Yeah. Food exposure, chemicals, or repeated head impacts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at it, Parkinson's disease, multiple studies suggest increased risk among former contact sport athletes, though the increase is generally smaller and less consistent than for CTE. I mean, we just talked about Brett Favre. I've got pre-Parkinson's. What do they call that? Parkinsonisms?
Parkinsonisms, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
that. And there's never been any Parkinson's in my family.
Wow. Right.
You know, I mean, hell, let's bring it up, Paul. I'm going off script. Huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to right field.
Okay.
We'll come back to left field, but I'm going to right field.
I'll be the cutoff. So if you want to throw the ball to the catcher, make sure you throw it over my head. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Not only are we talking about neurodegenerative diseases,
right,
but let's talk about the athlete heart.
Oh.
Repeated head compact and being an athlete also affects your heart. And, you know, I always was proud. I got an athlete's heart. Mine's enlarged a little bit. Me got big heart. I'm all heart. You know, well, now I got an aortic aneurysm, and you got AFib, and a buddy of ours that is a rodeo champion has just got a pacemaker put in, and
right.
So, I mean, this is a lot more than just neurodegenerative. This is, well, how many of us old rodeo cowboys? I guarantee you, if you rodeo, this is the difference between rodeo and football. And I'm not making jokes here.
Right.
How many retired rough stock riders or even timed eventers have had 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 surgeries.
This episode of the Head Rush Podcast is brought to you by the Patrick Risha CTE Awareness Foundation. Their goal is to spread awareness about the dangers of RHI, repetitive head impacts, after losing their son, Patrick, to CTE. Sadly, there are too many like Patrick that have lost their families, jobs, and sometimes their lives. And this foundation is working hard to stop the devastation that can come from not protecting the brain. This foundation provides parents of school-age children with information about the dangers of sports, concussive sports, and activities which involve head trauma.
They advertise on social media, print media, and billboards. Please follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok and share their ads with others. And please visit their website, stopcte.org, to find ways to help people recognize the disease if confronted with it in their family, and how to prevent the suffering that can come to families when a brain is damaged. The website has medical forms to take to doctor's visits and advocacy letters if you want to help make change in your community. And their most recent campaign is geared up to help coaches build brain-healthy teams. You can use the information on stopcte.org website to understand CTE, live with CTE, and prevent CTE. Please visit. Thank you. And don't knock it.
There you go.
StopCTE.org.
How many
Yeah.
NFL players have had that many surgeries? You know,
I know a lot. I know a lot that have had a lot of surgeries, but personally, I've had one surgery, albeit it was a pretty extreme one with the lower lumbar L5S1, and I foolishly played 40 days after. But anyway, but I get it. You've had what, 9 surgeries? How many surgeries have you had?
4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I'm on 11 or 12, and I'm getting ready to go in for another one.
Yeah. Well, I would, I mean, to your point, I mean, you guys abuse your bodies, and you not only abuse them to the point where you injure yourselves, then you get back on the freaking horse the next week or the next, 2 days later in another rodeo, and you ride again. I, I was, uh, although, but and you probably didn't get a shot at Toradol. Did they give you
No.
Toradol when? No,
We don't have doctors.
Oh, so my
We get ice
experience.
packs.
So my experience, Corey, was, Doc, 2 hours before the game, I've got to bend over and snap the ball between my legs back to the punter 14 and a half yards, right? So I've got to be limber and be able to, get up and down. And my back sciatic was so bad I couldn't even bend down and touch my knees. So I said, Doc, I gotta have something. Give me something. And he says, what are you talking about? I said, well, my back's hurting me. And he says, your back? I can't do that. What are you talking? We haven't even evaluated. Doc, I gotta play. And I got a shot of Toradol, and I had a great game. I had a great game. And then when the Toradol wore off 18 hours later, I couldn't even get out of bed. So anyway.
You know what we say?
What?
If you don't wake up in pain, you're dead.
Yeah.
I mean, in rodeo season, once April comes around, you're hurting till December.
You're already, I can't imagine the wrists, the forearms, the biceps, the shoulders, the neck, you get kicked. Oh my gosh, the ribs.
I've been kicked in the head by a horse. So, I mean, yeah. Okay. So that was my little spiel, because we're going through this hard issue with you and with me and now with a buddy of mine. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But let's get back to what is ALS? Now you got a good friend that you played football with that has ALS. Green, right? Tim Green?
Tim Green, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about ALS, what it is and what it is.
So I wish I knew it's a fast attacking, they call it an amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. And it was made popular by Lou Gehrig's. They call it Lou Gehrig's disease. There's basically, I understand there's two levels of ALS you can contract. One, you have about an 18-month, after diagnosis, you have about an 18-month lifespan. You have 18 months to live to get your affairs in order. And the second one, you remember that the brilliant astrophysicist, scientific, whatever he was, Stephen Hawking?
Yeah.
And he was in a wheelchair. He had ALS as well. And that was a branch of the ALS that you can live until you're 80 years old. Obviously, you have to have 24-hour care. You have to have people working on you and bathing you and cleaning you and suctioning you and all sorts of things. Now, my friend and I played football with him at Syracuse, and he was a number one pick to the Atlantic Falcons, and he played for 7 or 8 years, and then he went on to. He's written like 40 something books, and he's had New York Times bestsellers, and he was an announcer for the NFL, and then he was an announcer for Entertainment Tonight, and then he's done so many things throughout his life, and all of a sudden, about 8 or 9 years ago, he started having problems with his hand and his fingers. So they initially they were saying, okay, maybe your tendons are so tight. I think they loosened a couple of the tendons up, but shortly after, they diagnosed him with ALS, and he kept it very, very quiet for quite a while. We're talking about, and Tim, very powerful story, and I suggest very highly if anyone wants to check out research on ALS and check out his podcast, Nothing Left Unsaid. I think that's the podcast, but he actually speaks with his eyes. He literally looks at a screen and he spells a word, or he picks a word, what he wants to say. And before, ALS is so, it's a terrible, terrible disease, to the point where you literally can't breathe on your own. You can't talk. You can't eat. You can't even move. You can't move. You can't raise your hands. You can't turn your head. I mean, you cannot move your body and your extremities. So he's been in a wheelchair for probably 6 years. 6 years, and man, I've been fortunate enough to visit with him a couple times up in Syracuse, and he's written 2 books since he was. It's almost like a paralytic state. He's written 2 books with his eyes, choosing the words. I think one of them became a bestseller. He actually he's got 3 or 4 children, and he's got like 8 or 9 grandchildren already. and he's up there at Lake Skaneateles in Syracuse, and he really has a powerful testimony of his faith and his love of family, but he's living, he's living. He's not getting ready to die. He's actually living his best life. And anyway,
So
yeah.
with them saying, and that's a heartbreaking story about Tim. I've watched his podcast. Well, you were on it when I watched it. And but they say 4 times likely due to repeated head impacts.
Or
Do you know any
times more
other
likely.
players that have it that's open about it or that you know of? You don't have
Not
to mention names, but do you know of any?
not personally, not guys that I played with. But one guy that Tim played with, he was no, he played in the same era. He played for the Saints, New Orleans Saints. Didn't not McMahon, but the defensive lineman from the Chicago Bears. He just passed away of it.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah, and and then Chris Johnson was just diagnosed. He was one of the better running backs in the league when he played.
Right.
Yeah, and
So,
well,
and
and the interesting thing is the Concussion and CTE Foundation up at Boston University. So they are the ones that put out the research. You're 4 times more likely to come down with ALS if you play in the NFL. You played professional football, and which is strictly due to, well, you can correlate it to repeated head impacts, period, from my perspective, and most other perspectives. But interestingly, of the 5 or 6 guys that have passed on and they had ALS when they died with ALS, and their families donated their brains to research. All 5 or 6, I don't know the number, but all 5 or 6 actually had CTE as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And one meta-analysis found professional soccer players had about an 8-fold higher mortality from motor neuron disease, including ALS, than the general population.
Yeah, that's pretty damning.
Did you watch the America-Belgium game?
No.
It's the only game I've ever watched of soccer in my life. I've never watched it.
Did you enjoy it?
I actually did. What I enjoyed more is because of it being FIFA and we're in Texas and it's a main hub here. Well, I was like, I want to watch this Belgium game in Seattle. And so we were watching it, and it was funny because I've never played soccer. I don't know nothing about soccer. I couldn't tell you a forward from a back, from a tackle to whatever to a goalie. I couldn't even tell you what. The only thing I know is that they hit a soccer ball. But it was funny because I'm sitting next to my wife, and you can hear, oh, go, yes! And I'm like, really? We've never watched this a day in our life, and you're this excited. It was kind of cool because it is such a thing I felt very patriotic. I mean, we were watching it, and it was in Seattle, and they're going, USA, USA. And you're sitting here going, this is Seattle, people.
Yeah.
This is Antifa land. I mean, wow, this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And then reading that on the meta-analysis, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
8-fold higher mortality from neuron disease, including ALS.
Right.
Now,
So
how do they get it? I mean, I'm sure that doesn't happen because you're running up and down the field.
no, there's a lot of collisions in soccer.
Oh,
And and
dude.
and how many? I mean, we've heard of practices. They used to practice heading the ball, I don't know,
100 times.
100 times a day type of thing, or 50 times a day, or
Something like that.
yeah, we've heard things like that. And I remember when I was coaching my daughter, she was 6 years old, and I was coaching her in soccer. And one of the girls, or I don't know, she threw the ball at me and I headed it. And I was like, that hurt. I got like a headache from heading the ball. It was, and I wasn't going 40 miles an hour off of somebody's foot. And
Well, and I saw a video, they called it the double header. I saw it yesterday, and the guy kicked the ball and it
yeah,
hit the guy in the head.
This episode of the Head Rush Podcast is brought to you by our personal doctor and team of doctors, Dr. Mizelle DeMayo, and she's with the Paradise Behavioral Health, and we are in the
Brainwell program, which is also part of the Millennium Health Center. Dr. Mark Gordon, you've seen him on Joe Rogan and even on our show, the Head Rush Podcast. And hormones. And Mizelle is awesome. We love her.
She's our doctor of psychiatry. She works the Mark Gordon program with the hormones, and she adds her twist of genetics, and it basically is melding two wonderful mediums together, and we're getting great help from Dr. Mizelle DeMayo.
So please check out her website at paradisebehavioral.com. Look up the Brainwell program. Get involved.
She's sponsoring us. They're sponsoring us for the next year, so we are excited to have them on board and shout the good news to everybody that is watching these broadcasts. So,
is she helping you, Paul?
Absolutely.
She's helping me. So go check her out. ParadiseBehavioralHealth.com.
When he kicked it, it hit him in the head and he went down. And the ball went about 3 foot away and hit another person in the head, and they went down. And I'm like, holy cow, that's worse than Paul getting hit by freaking Dickinson.
well, and I think the worst thing is you're ready to hit somebody like Eric Dickerson, and but you get a ball, kicked off your head, you don't have much time to react,
No.
And that side to side whiplash is just as dangerous as the front to back.
Well, even in the Belgium game, I mean, them heads came this far away from each other trying to head it into the net. And I'm sitting there going, dude, that would be like a major head-to-head impact if they would have connected.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that shocked me. The 8-fold higher mortality, that shocked me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I actually was just scrolling, which I rarely do. I literally was looking at Facebook, and Concussion and CTE Foundation up in Boston University actually came out with a study, and it's right along these lines that the neurodegenerative diseases affect 4 times greater effect of football players, and that was a study from 20,000 NFL players. 20,000 NFL players. So we're talking about overall, and those were the neurodegenerative diseases we're calling it the big three for lack of a better term right now, but the Parkinsonisms, the Alzheimer's, the ALS, and neurodementia, accelerated,
Well, And now let's put it down on paper that the reason everything is related to football, because that's the most circled sport of collective participants that they can
Right.
get, that knows that have contact, collision. A lineman, you're going to get hit. A running back, going to get hit. A quarterback, well, nowadays, you're going to get a pat on the back and say, good job.
Mhm.
But you look at it, put this across all sports. I mean, they can't open and do a study of all concussive sports because there's so many that I think it would get skewed.
Mm.
But if you just put that in terms, 20,000
Mm.
NFL participants in that study.
Right.
Hell, I didn't even know there was 20,000 NFL members.
I think
20,000 participants. So how many soccer players are there?
I'm not sure.
How
I'm not
many rodeo cowboys are there? How many rugby players? How many
Rugby players.
of all the contact sports across the board? So we're talking millions.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Millions that are at a higher mortality for dementia, higher mortality for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, for ALS, for all the neurodegenerative diseases. You know how many cowboys I know that had dementia in their older years, and they never correlated it with repeated head impacts,
Right.
or got Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or any of that? I mean, you put that into any contact sport, you're going to get the increase. So when we talk about CTE, that's the golden grail, the big umbrella of everything that's due to repeated head impacts. But if you're a parent out there and you're listening to this podcast, and I hope you are, that we're no longer just talking about CTE.
Mm.
We're talking about Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. We're talking about all these other diseases that are affected by repeated head impacts. So,
Yeah.
knowing that, hell, let's throw CTE out the window. Bing, it's gone.
Mm.
Would you want your daughter to play soccer at 7 years old until she was through college?
Mm. No. No. No.
Now, if they eliminated headers and everything until high school, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
And CTE ain't even a thing right now. Just what we just read, the eightfold mortality of your daughter getting Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or dementia. I would not put my daughter in a soccer field at 6, 7 years old.
Some form of a motor neuron disease. And yeah, I wouldn't, especially if they're heading the ball.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a game changer right there.
So
That's a game changer right there. I mean, that just eliminates the whole game changing aspect. I mean, now we're not even talking about CTE. Now we're just talking about stuff that'll disable you the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, if they took heading out of soccer, at least until college, I mean that makes the game safer.
Right.
That lowers the and again, we're talking again, we've heard 50 times a day, practicing heading the ball. I mean, they got most of their, these soccer players get most of their repeated head impacts through practice. If they're heading the ball, practicing heading the ball 50 times.
Well, and
So
I mean, and even by eliminating headers, the fact that you're going to get a ball kicked in your head 5 feet away, I would be okay with that.
right.
Because then she got a concussion, but now she's out for the year because she got a concussion. Because I'm not going to let her get second impact syndrome.
Right. Which can be dire. It can be so dire you can actually die from it. You can actually die for it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've had second impact syndrome. You've had second impact syndrome.
I don't know. I probably not as much as you, because you'd get back on a horse within days.
Paul,
Yeah.
you got your bell rung and played three quarters. How many second impact syndromes was that?
A lot. Yeah.
In one game. So you say not as many as me. You see the color purple in the first quarter. You're still bonking your head in the fourth quarter. That's second impact syndrome. That's third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I mean, that's
does that make an NFL player tougher or just stupider? More stupid.
well, the problem is I don't think it makes them stupid or tough. I think what it makes us is just uneducated.
Yeah.
Well, that's you as a professional NFL player making $55,000 a year when you got drafted. Oh, let's do the heyday. When you signed your contract for what, 2.5 million?
No, 1.45 million over 3 years.
Okay, you're 1.45 million over 3 years that you only got paid for one season of.
Right.
Let's do that in the heyday. That was your highlight. You get down on the field, you get your bell rung on the first quarter. Knowing what you know now, would you have still played that whole game?
No. If I had known that the damage that I was, if I had known the possible shearing of the axons and the neurons that I was damaging and the white matter that I was damaging and there's so many, like the neurovascular yada yada. I've heard Bruce Parkman talk about some of the damages that we do to our brain. Gosh.
Well, you think about it. We got a friend that we both know. I'm not mentioning names. He's trying to go see Tanner.
Yeah.
He's got white matter disease.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think he got it? Age?
Not in his case. Yeah.
But it doesn't register with people. Hey, by the way, the celebrity softball game we're doing September 12th.
Yes.
Have you been watching the confirmed?
No. Well, I think Jim McMahon is one of the guys coming back. He's been a guest there before.
Oh, dude, we got
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, Terrell Owens. Is it Terrell or Terrell? I think it's Terrell, ain't it?
I think it's Terrell. Yes.
I'm just going to call him Mr. Owens.
Okay.
You can call him whatever you want, but I'm going to call him Mr. Owens because I don't want to get beat up. Hold on, let me get this. I want to bring this to everyone's attention because me and Paul got invited to play softball, and it's a celebrity softball game in Frisco, Texas on September 12th. And it's to raise funds for veterans and warriors and other stuff. Let me look it up here. Celebrity softball classic. And your number's 91. Mine's going to be 99.
Mm-hmm. 99 bumps on the head.
That's it. That's why I picked it. Phil Koch, New York Yankees. Bonnie Jill Laughlin, sportscaster for the NBA. Jim McMahon. Rocker Steiner, world champion bareback rider. Rocker Steiner is confirmed.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
He just had a neck fusion, by the way.
How old is he? Do you know him?
21, and no, I don't know him.
Oh, young kid. Neck
Yeah.
fusion at freaking 21? Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Rodeo, man. We build
Yeah.
them hard and we make them last long.
Yeah.
Noah
Saw him up.
Syndergaard from the LA Dodgers.
Okay.
Paul Frase
Yeah.
from the Green Bay Packers and New York Jets. The Doc, the musician, the DOC.
Yeah.
I don't know him. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
But I mean, so it's going to be Jim McMahon, Mike Dempsey, who's been on our podcast, is in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's going to be a hit list there, people. And if
Yeah.
you go to the website and get your tickets and do all of that, you can do a meet and greet on the field, get on the field with me and Paul and all of us, and have a good old time. I just want to give some love out to Tim Clun on that because he invited us, and I think we need to give him a shout out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
they do. He does a lot of good with the funds that he raises too.
Oh, tremendous. I mean, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for a great cause because I'm going to look like an idiot out there. When's the last time you played baseball?
I tried to hit a softball about 6 years ago, and it was at a kids camp that I was working at up in New Hampshire. And they thought, oh, the NFL player is going to hit the ball out of the park. And I had not swung at a baseball or a softball for probably 20 years. And they pitch it, and it's slow pitch. I swung so early that I could have swung 3 times and it still missed the ball. It was ridiculous. I was like, and then the second pitch, I forced myself to hold that bat, and I finally swung and I hit a ground ball, and so there was no reaching for the fence that day.
So if it was a kids camp, how old was the pitcher?
Oh, the pitcher was probably 12, 13 years old. Yeah. Yeah. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And all the people thought, the big NFL player was going to, hit a great, ball. And everybody was like, oh. Oh, that's
So
right.
come out and watch us because we ain't played softball in forever. I may, when I get back from Mexico, I may go to the batting cages if I'm feeling better.
You might want to, but I'm telling you. Well, if you're golfing, you best go to a batting cage before that day. That's for sure.
So as we're closing this thing up, the research has proven that there are a number of factors involved with these findings, such as total years of exposure of repeated head impacts, number and severity of impacts, including those without diagnosed concussions.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a biggie because I think I've only been diagnosed with one TBI when I got kicked in the head. And I was out cold and they sent me to the hospital.
Right.
And I had a little brain bleed.
Yep.
But all my other concussions, when I woke up, I went behind the chutes and then I either went home or I went down the road. So, I mean, genetics is a huge, depending on your genetics and your hormones. I'll throw in hormones because
some I mean, some people are genetically predisposed to suffer from concussions or repeated head impacts worse. Some can take the blows better.
and genetically,
Oh,
maybe they can't do the dopamine spikes.
Exactly. I mean, it might be due to neuroplasticity. You know, the BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. If you're high, I understand. You know, through our Dr. Mizell DeMaio, our doctor of psychology or psychiatry, she tests the BDNF and she says low BDNF means that you do not respond to concussions or repeated head impacts very well. And that's the chemical of the neuroplasticity, the way your brain can actually repair or grow new dendrites or grow new channels, so on and so forth. Yeah.
And so, age when exposure begun.
Big. That's a big thing that we talk about, Corey, because age when exposure began. So
If you or someone you love is living with Parkinson's, MS, or symptoms associated with CTE, this is worth knowing. Ambio Life Sciences offers a novel alternative medicine called Ibogaine and operates the only Ibogaine clinic in the world for people with neurodegenerative disorders.
Many are reporting meaningful improvements in their quality of life after Ibogaine treatment. Interested? You can learn more about Ibogaine and apply at ambio.life.
little Johnny or jumps on a sheep or whatever you guys call it that you throw these 7-year-olds on.
Mutton busting.
The mutton busting or a lot of little
And we
Johnny
do it
or
a
sheep.
lot. By 7, they're riding bigger animals, dude. We're talking 3-4-year-olds.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, and then you talk about little Johnny or little Susie now. I mean, because they probably let the younger girls play, tackle football in the Pee Wee leagues. Their brain is not developed. The prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until your 20s, your late 18s.
Age
Yeah.
when exposure begun. How old were you when your first exposure to repeated head impacts?
In sports or anything?
Anything.
Well, I had 2 older brothers, and basketball.
So you got mucked out.
Basketballs off the head.
You got mucked out.
I got a tire thrown at me one time.
You got mucked out, just like I did. I got a lot of older brothers. We get mucked out, and they laugh at us. Oh, look at Corey. He went 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then overall cardiovascular, which we just talked about, the athlete heart is not a good thing, and brain health.
Yeah. Well, but in the same tone, there's got to be a equilibrium or a balance, because it is exercise is actually good for our brains
Right.
nowadays.
Oh,
Maybe.
exercise. But I think going out and going jogging or maybe running a marathon is fun.
Well, they say
think-
new studies are after you're in your 50s or after your 50s, it's not good to run 26.2, but
I had a church, one of the youth church pastors went to the Olympics. Terry Smith was one of my youth pastors. And he went to the Olympics and did the 26-mile marathon, and he did it in his 50s. I guarantee you, when I turn 50, I ain't running 5 miles.
Well, the only reason I ran, I always wanted to run a marathon. By the time I turned 50, I had not run one, and I said, "Oh, it's too late. That ship has sailed." And then one of Joshua's peers up in Chicago, um, the uncle would get 10 Chicago marathon bibs and raise money for myotubular myopathy, the same disease that my son passed with. Anyway, so and he called me. Patrick was his uncle. Patrick called me and he says, "Hey, come on up, Paul. Let's raise some money for myotubular myopathy." And I had the most awesome time running the Chicago Marathon at 6:30 in the morning. You're standing in corrals, like with the the stands that block you. They call them corrals, and there's like 25 of them. Or I'm in H. I was so slow, I was all the way back to H. Uh, and I got to run my first marathon. It was flat, 1.2 million people standing around yelling for you. I had one guy at 16 miles. He was yelling positive stuff to everybody. "Hey, you're going to make it. You're so close. Come on." And he stops and he's silent and he sees me and I'm about 10 feet away from him and he says, "Hey, old gray-haired guy, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. Hang in there." I started laughing. It actually helped me in the the
Did you
last.
make the 26 miles?
Yeah, I crossed the finish line 5 minutes before they officially closed the course.
That works. I would have never made it. At 50
But
years old, my knees are shot, my shoulders are shot. There ain't no. I mean, when we get to the softball game, if I even get a hit, wait until you see me run to first base. It's going to be like, "Run, Forrest, run." And hopefully the medal
yeah,
falls off and then I remember how to get there.
yeah. It was quite an experience, and I relished the fact that I got to do it.
Oh,
And
for
I ended.
myotubular myopathy,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
that's for your son. I mean, that's a gift that keeps giving, just thinking about it
yeah,
and talking about it.
yeah.
So,
That was
in
pretty cool.
conclusion, at the Head Rush podcast, we believe that education is the key to lower rates of CTE. And we know that our young children don't need to be experiencing repeated head impacts at 7 years old. Why, Paul? Why don't we believe the 7-year-old ought to be hitting their head?
Well, the medical thing is the myelin sheath is not protecting the axons of the neurons until they're the late teens or 20s. But the fact of the matter is there is no safe age to play concussive sports. And CTE is probably, you can probably say it's the only neurodegenerative disease that you can actually um, not prohibit, or you can. Oh,
Prevent.
thank you, Lord. That was a CTE moment. No, that was a repeated head impact moment.
RHI moment. Plug.
RHI. RHI. There's no safe age to actually play concussive sports. People, please educate yourself on how to reduce the risk of brain uh, brain damage in your concussive sports. Please choose your teams wisely. Please choose your coaches wisely. Please choose the leagues that are not hitting as much. Hopefully, some of these leagues are taking hitting right out of the game, except 4 games. And I don't know. There's a lot to be said for lowering the repeated head impacts of our children. Period. Save a life, save a brain.
Oh, slogan.
Save a life, save a brain. Save a brain, save a life.
Slogan. Plug. T-shirt moment. Save a brain, save a
Corey.
life.
Corey, you want to end this with a word of hope?
There's always hope in this world.
Hmm.
For Democrats, independent, Republican, conservative, for RHI, for CTE, for someone diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
There's always hope. But you got to do the research. You got to find it. And you got to find the right team, the right doctors that understand where your hope is. And the biggest word of hope for me is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. That's my biggest hope.
Amen.
Because even if I don't make it, I'm going to heaven. And
Amen.
here lately, with all this heart stuff and brain stuff, Crystal's been real mad at me because famous words, and if you don't know the words, you ain't a dude. If he dies, he dies.
He died. Oh Lord.
What movie is that from?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, dude, you're gonna have to wear a skirt. Rocky, man. The Russian. If he dies,
Drago.
he dies.
Drago.
Drago.
Oh,
Yes. If he dies, he dies.
I just saw him, and they just had a highlight in some magazine or something. I don't know, but he's still looking pretty good.
Well,
Oh,
hell,
man.
I'm looking pretty good, and I didn't have to get in the ring with Sylvester Stallone. But word of hope is find the right team, find the Lord Jesus Christ, find the right team around you for your foundations, your support, your whole well-being, no matter what you're battling in life.
Amen. Amen. Well said.
Find the right team. And then go do ibogaine. I'm 3 weeks away, dude.
I hope you get to do that, and I hope it's going to be an exciting, special journey.
Well, I promise you one thing. I am not going to get it tattooed on my thighs.
No, thank you. You can do each finger. I, B, O, G, whatever.
And since we're talking about this, I am still medically cleared to go do ibogaine. I talked to the medical doctor yesterday, Dr. Torres. Had a long talk with Nicole Tracy at Ambio, and I am still medically cleared. On the other side of things, Paul is not medically cleared due to his AFib. What did Dr. Torres say?
Well, I have the type of AFib that it's not ventricle, but the ibogaine can actually trigger ventricle palpitations, which could actually throw me into AFib, and in a ventricular AFib is the dangerous widowmaker type of situation. And when you under ibogaine, some of the drugs they cannot use to bring control back to your heart rhythm, and it's very, very difficult while under the influence of the medicine, the plant-based medicine, to actually control the heart. So that's what they were concerned about, and they were, and quite frankly, they're probably going to be the leaders in the world to administer during clinical trials. I mean, hopefully clinical trials we will start to pop up in late 2026, early 2027, so they can study ibogaine safely. And Ambio is the probably the world's leader in administering plant-based medicine / ibogaine, and they've had a very good safety record. So the
Well, and
doctor,
that's the thing. That's the thing I want to bring up is you got to realize this ain't going to Costa Rica and doing ayahuasca. This ain't going to some retreat. When you go to Ambio, who's sponsoring us, when you go to Ambio, they turned down one of the guys they sponsored because they did not feel it would be safe for him to do it. They are not one of the hippy dippy zippy retreats that say, hey, yeah, we'll take you no matter what. When I get down there, they're taking me to the cardiologist to get triple checked before I even go on my journey. So, right. I mean, they do their due diligence. When I talked to Nicole yesterday, she said they have a cardiac ICU there at the house that they've never needed to use. Because Dr. Torres does the research, does the homework, reads everything. And if there's a question mark, sorry, you ain't coming.
Right. Yeah, they know if the risk is too great, they know there's a limit to who can do it, what conditions people have that will keep them from doing it. So bottom line is they are safe. They keep their practice very safe and very secure. So.
And you can do that by going to ambio.life. Plug. And you do that. And so, but we got some news coming out here shortly about what Ambio is also going to be doing with the Head Rush podcast. We're not ready to announce yet. We're not going to go there yet. But there are some good things coming up with the Head Rush podcast and Ambio Life Sciences. So
absolutely. So stay tuned.
Stay
for that information and stay alive.
This podcast is for general information only and does not constitute the practice of medicine. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard and delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.